Hi, my name is Isla Wilson. I'm the chair of CWP. I wanted to share reflections on a couple of things from our board this month with you. And the first one was about risk. So we've had a very useful conversation this month in our public board about risk. And when we talk about risk in board, it can mean lots of things, but in this particular case, we were talking about strategic risk. So those are the long-term things that could threaten our ability to deliver our strategy for the next 5 or so years. So we're talking about significant risks which don't change fast, but which have the chance to have a really big positive or negative impact on how we deliver services to people. And the job of the board is to talk about and think about those risks, rarely in isolation. So we know that when we talk about doing one thing, that can affect other parts of our organisation. And we all have areas where we have different attitudes to risk. And so a lot of the discussion in the board will be about how we balance those things out. So, for example, I think we would hopefully all agree that we don't really want to take any risks at all that can cause harm to people who use our services. That's an area we've got very, very low appetite. But we do want to be innovative, and we want to deliver services in a way that meet the changing needs of our population. And when we do that, we have to balance that against the impact that it can have on people who use our services. Likewise, we want to do new things in new ways, but we have to balance that against the demands on our teams, who are really, really stretched, working under enormous pressure and exhausted. So those kind of conversations about how we balance those risks are very much part of the business of the board. What I thought was really good in this month's board is that whole discussion took place in our public board. So as a reminder, you can go on our website, and our public board meetings are up there, and anyone watching this can attend that meeting and see those kind of conversations happen transparently in public, see the things that are taken into account and how that conversation happens. And I think that's really important as we deliver this strategy, which is really ambitious, that we're accountable to our communities and to the people who work as part of our teams and to the people who use our services for how we make those decisions. The other thing I wanted to just reflect on a little bit links to risk, really, and that is around the people who work in our organisation, our workforce. So there's a couple of things that came out of board really strongly. One is that as we're getting back out and doing visits, and as we're looking at information, we can see how much pressure everybody is under. We can see how difficult that is, and we can see that people are continuing to put in heroic efforts under really, really tricky circumstances. And we're still working hard to try and make that better, but we know that it's hard, and you know that is having a real impact on people. We're continuing to look at ways to improve that, and we will continue to do that. And as that goes on, we also, I suppose, just want to reflect how grateful we are to everybody for everything that you're doing, and just to recognise how very difficult it is in some services in particular at the moment. One of the decisions that we made today in board is to create a board subcommittee. Now that sounds like very governance-y language, and it is, but board committees have a very specific status in the NHS. So we have a quality committee and we have an audit committee, and we will now have a committee with the same level of standing and status to look specifically at workforce and people. Don't know what it's going to be called yet. We've still got to work out some of the detail, but what that means is that we will have space and time on the agendas to make sure that the challenges that our workforce face now and in the future get the time and attention from the board that they need to. So this isn't about operational day-to-day things. This is about strategy, long-term. How do we make sure that we can look after people? How do we make sure that we have a workforce for the future? How do we think differently about jobs and roles and flexibility? How do we really respond to the challenges around equality and diversity, around well-being, all of that long-term strategic but really impactful and important stuff. So that's a decision that has been made in the board, and one which I think is enormously important, and I hope that what you will see from that over the coming months and years is even more focus on this area of the work that we all do as an organisation.